I got a feeling that you got me covered too. I got you covered. I got you covered.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing today? I have figured out that the reason I'm sorry I'm late. I hope y'all love the fact that I was able to actually do kind of like, what was it? Like a trailer, and I was actually able to make it the weekly shout out videos. So I think for a while that'll actually be what our trailer will be, which I think is going to be great um, as far as our trailer and everything. So I'm sorry I'm a little bit late, but hi Sandy. But when I go into Streamlabs, me and Streamlabs have believe me, we have our issues. We go into Streamlabs. Unfortunately, I keep forgetting that there's something I have to do because for some reason it is connected to our Facebook account. And then trying to get it connected so I can go live underneath this one. I keep forgetting what the dang on toggle is. You know, what it is for kind of the little toggle thing that goes on. You know, that I have to press so it actually hooks into my mom's YouTube account. And I finally, oh, this is what it is. And every time I'm going to say, I'm going to remember it. Do you think I remember it? No, that'd be way too easy. But anyway, I think I finally will remember actually how to do it, which will make things so much easier. So we are going to do our, oh boy, I'm having haven't finished the coffee yet. We are going to do our gifted memberships. We do that on the second and fourth weeks of the month, so that's time to do it. So we're going to do that. And I just wanted to take a moment. It's just not having. I need the Flowbee. Do you not see? I'm telling you. I wish I'd had thicker hair. I just don't have any hair. It's baby fine hair, and I never grew out of baby stage, I guess. I wish my body would have caught up with that too. It would have been nice. But anyway, I just want to take a moment because I want people to understand that we are doing so much more over on Blessing Through Connection than just doing a live stream. And I want to thank Sandy Wandy because she's the one that turned me on to the Pixel Bay. The only thing that I really suggest of anybody that does Pixel Bay is to make sure you go, and we're probably going to do it underneath both Blessings Through Connection and Blessed to Crochet, just to check because we're monetized on this channel, to make sure that it's not going to ever come back and say, sorry, you can't monetize this. We've had a couple, just a few, through Blessed to Crochet that we weren't able to monetize because after we came monetized, sorry. So we'll check it on both streams so that we make sure that the background that's playing and the music won't ever be affected by any of that. But, you know, anybody really, if they wanted to start a grow channel like that, could go into Pixel Bay, pick a background, a video loop background, loop it on any kind of streaming service and put some music with it. Just upload it privately, let it sit for a couple days. Make sure it's not going to come back with any restrictions. Most of them have not. It's just double checking. And then you can go ahead and run with it. But again, YouTube is coming out with new things. They always do, right? And so that's why we're adding the recordings. We are also adding the fact that we take our weekly shout outs. We put them in the stream when we do stream a couple times during the week on that channel. And then we go ahead and drop that person's link in the chat when we do that. So that we're taking the recaps, putting them in the streams, and when I think we can add trailers to, I think we can add trailers. I have to look to the live streams, and if we can, then we'll put the recaps on Blessings Through Connection on the trailers. So you kind of get that before you kind of come in. Then we're also have the Facebook group over there. So if you do have a channel and you want to let people know you have a premiere or a live, go ahead and put it in the Blessings Through Connection Facebook group. And then if we can, what we're trying to do is go ahead and make sure that we place those on the Blessings Through Connection community tab about 10 minutes before the live starts. So we're trying to do more than just go live, have everybody come in, make them a moderator, and then we just leave. We're trying to really do much more in fostering connection and helping people grow. And I think that maybe people may think, well, you've got almost 1,800 subscribers. It'll be real easy to grow that channel. Well, not necessarily. We still have to have our watch hour. So if anybody wants to start watching the playlist over there, that's great. But we're doing it more for the fact that we want to help people grow than we are to get it monetized. If it gets monetized, great. We want you all to grow. We want to foster that connection. And we just want to be really careful how we're doing it over there, because think about it for a minute. Hi, Tangled. How are you? Think about for a minute. Welcome on in. That if you go to someone's channel and you just hit that little button, subscribe, right, and you leave, it's just kind of like before video doorbells. If you went to somebody's house and you knocked on the door and said, you know what, here I am, see if anybody's home, nobody's home, you don't tell them that you went, or you stopped by their house, or you left a note, nobody knew you showed up. And it's kind of like if you don't leave a message on a video and give that thumbs up or some shorts, nobody knows you've been there. And whether you have content or not, that's just really nice for the person that's taken the time to put that content out for you to let you know. If you have a channel, it's your virtual footprint. And people may find your channel through doing that. I know we've found channels through doing that. So it's just something to think about. And we just want to be really careful on that channel that we're not just doing it to make sure that we're subscribed. We're hitting that button, then the other person hits that button, and that's it. And YouTube does not like that. We really want to make sure that we're fostering that connection so that, you can connect with that channel properly, and then that way go back and when you can be able to support that channel. So it's much more than just hitting that button. And us as, people that are looking at the analytics, it's really easy to say, oh, well, you know what? I want to see the numbers go up. Well, I want to see the numbers go up too, but I also want to make sure that, like Snapback says, not only do we would like to have that happen, but more importantly, we want the supporters than the numbers. And that's what we're looking for over there. We want the supporters. So if you guys are looking for channels, go look at the shout outs we've done on both channels. If you're looking for upcoming lives, go look at, upcoming lives. They'll be about 10 minutes prior to them going live, and you'll actually see on the community post that they're live. And also, if the live is ended, go back, because you may find some channels through the videos and the lives that we've shared. We're only going to share lives and premieres. So get in with that Facebook group, because it's just another way of making sure that we can share you out. And then we go into their upcoming lives or premieres, and we hit that thumbs up button, and we let them know, guess what? We've stopped on by. We've scheduled a post. We're here to go. And of course, our tagline for that channel is, let's get those connection engines going. And that's one of our shirts that we're going to actually put out on that channel. And I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to do a separate store for that other channel, but I may not be able to for a while. So if I can't, I'll just merge everything under the Blessed to Crochet Fourth Wall store. And we're going to have a shirt that says, let's get those connection engines going, with the Blessings Through Connection logo on the back. And Fonzo actually helped us with that, and he did awesome. So I want to for sure thank him for all his help. If you haven't connected with his channel, go ahead and connect. I have to finish the coffee or this brain is not going to think. So before we start going any further, I want to make sure that I am giving out the memberships for the day, for the month. I was saying to Josh the other day, I'm so glad that we invested in this computer because it was worth the $100 to come over and do it. That's for sure. Alrighty. Us as content creators, as long as we're not branded, that's why we're going to hold off for that for a while. Eventually, when we have to become branded, then what we are going to do is still continue to do 10 memberships a month. But right now, as long as you're not a branded account, you're monetized, you can give out 10 free memberships a month. So we do that on the second and fourth Wednesday, second and fourth week of the month. So let's see who it is. Let's do the 5. So, let's see. Tangle, you came in here and you got a membership. Diane, DA Farm, So Bleeze, and Ella's is the membership for what we were able to, the gifted memberships. Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Enjoy that thing to come on in and be a part of it. Now, if you're able to, of course, YouTube randomly picks that. But if you're able to become a member, it only helps our channel. It helps the views. It's appreciated. It's never expected. If you're not able to, we totally understand. Just being able to go back and watch your content is also a great way to help. You can go ahead and make sure that you run the ads through. That all helps. And of course, it is much appreciated. Any support we get. Join us tonight because we're going to step outside. We're going to do our rocking, connecting, and you don't have to bring your crochet hook, but I will. I'm going to see about bringing this blanket that I'm almost finished with. It's just become big. And then tomorrow at 12, I know I have it scheduled for 7:30, but I'm going to change it because I want to finish up that interview I have with Christina, which is the Getting to Know Your interview that we'll start putting over Blessings Through Connection. And this way you can have a playlist over there with different topics and so forth. Different stuff, about 5 hours worth of content. So I have to finish up with that. So we're going to make our Blessings Through Connection time between 12 and probably about 2 or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I'll have to end up close to 3 because I have an appointment tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Alrighty. Now I have to find the mystery wheel. I'm going to figure out how to get all that on there. One of these days, guys, I'm telling you, I'm ready to go back to StreamYard. I'm ready. I can't do it till next year because I paid for this one, but there's aspects I like about Streamlabs, and there's aspects I like about StreamYard. There's things I don't like about either one of them. And my son-in-law is very good with all that kind of stuff. I said to him, boy, could we sit down and figure out a streaming service? I probably could figure it out a heck of a lot more. Like, put all the things I don't like. I have to find, where is it? I have to get the wheel. I sent it to myself so we can figure out what topic the wheel is going to choose for today. And eventually, I'm going to try to sit with Alfonso and kind of come and have him, here I found it, actually have him help me with the levels all with Streamlabs and everything. But I would like to get collaborators together on this because I think that if we can pick topics and we all can discuss them and everything, I think it will be great. And I'm going to message Amy with Leonard Homestead. We went on her channel last night, and she does open panels to come on. But she's doing a new thing with like a community kitchen. And I was thinking, what can I make? And one of the things that would probably end up being a short, but I think would be so much better if we could sit and like talk and conversate, is actually my corn fritters recipe. It's my grandmother's recipe. They are delicious. They're simple, they're easy, delicious. So I told her that that would be something. So be on the lookout for that. And I will figure out which Wednesday I can do that. And I'll have to tell my husband so he can reschedule an appointment or come in here for that appointment. All right, we're all ready to see what wheel is chosen for today. So I have to do this on my phone right now. Let's see what mystery topic is it going to choose for today. I can't see it. Learning disabilities. There's the mystery topic it shows. All right, I have to put these on a thing so I know what I've talked about. Well, I have a learning disability, and that learning disability is reading. I've always struggled with reading. I've had trouble with math a little bit. Of course, my teachers on the math department would be amazed that I was able to do some of the cashiering work I was actually able to do. It was pretty amazing that I was actually able to do all that I could with what I had when it came to that. But I was in special needs classes in my life. Now, I think that, of course, we have to kind of separate them because you have special needs and you have learning disabilities. And I think sometimes they cannot be meshed together. They have to be put separately. They have to be put separately because otherwise it's going to get confusing. So I'm not talking about I'm not talking about we're not talking about autism or anything like that. We're talking about actual learning disabilities. I do believe that I probably was I probably guarantee it that I was most likely dyslexic, but I wasn't diagnosed properly. So when we're talking about learning disabilities, we're talking about audio processing, fine motor skills issues, difficulty with writing, trouble with math, dyslexic, which is difficult with reading. I don't think that I was actually diagnosed properly, and I think I actually am dyslexic. I can sit there with a paragraph that can take me literally somebody to breeze through within 4 or 5 minutes, and I could be sitting there for half an hour reading it over and over and over again, trying to make sense of it, and it all just get jumbled up in this head. That's why for me, it is much easier if somebody would read this, read something for me if I was doing something. Hi, BN, how are you? Long time no see. If somebody would read something if I'm having to read something, then I'm so much better if I have it being read to me. I can process it so much better. I was also one of those kids that actually, if I needed to study, my mother had no idea how I did it. If I needed to study, usually the music was blaring. I mean, it usually was playing. And she goes, "How can you do that?" And I still find myself doing that today. If I have to be focused on something, the music's pumping. It's going. And so I found out that I actually did so much better when the music was going and when I was actually having that insight into what it was. I listened so much better. Now, I'm going to say this with a little bit of delicacy when I say it, but a lot of times if I'm sitting in church, I will be in Canva doing something, and it's not that I am sitting there not listening to the message that the pastor is talking about. But if I'm sitting there a little bit hurting, which happens a lot because of the fibromyalgia, if I'm sitting there hurting, I actually will find it much better if I'm actually focused on something else. If I'm focused on something else, I'm actually absorbing the information so much better. So if my hands are busy and I'm hurting sitting there, if I'm focused on doing something, maybe it's creating a thumbnail or something like that, I'm actually really listening on intently on the message. I'm just focused myself where I can go, okay, I'm dealing with pain, so it's going to be really hard for me to sit here for the next 45 minutes, right? I got to do something else so I can listen to the message. But I find myself that I have totally, like for me, you want to torture me? Put me in front of a book and tell me to read it. I want nothing to do with that. My daughter could sit and read a book and be enthralled with it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, nope, that's not this girl. I will audibly read a book. But for me to actually read, that's why the devotions are so difficult at times. And why, if you've listened to the devotions recently, these were the culprit if my voice sounded a little tinny, because I didn't realize that when I had these hooked on so I could actually listen to a word. So if I come across a word in the devotion, I actually, if I don't get it, several times over to be able to pronounce it. So I have to hear the word. So we have to understand that we cannot put learning disabilities in with disabilities like autism, Down syndrome, all those kind of things. They're very separate, but they can be a struggle. Even grown up, they can be a struggle. I find myself actually having to talk everything out. My husband would be like, "You're having another meeting with yourself?" Yep, I have meetings all the time. If I'm trying to process something through my head, I literally have to sit there and talk it out in order to process it. It doesn't process any other way. The family member that has not spoken to us for a while, since 23, has reached out to me and said that they are planning to write to me. And I'm like, that's great, but I'll read it. But when it's time for us to talk, I need to talk it out. I don't do the other thing very well. Sometimes when I talk things, when I'm talking, I'll actually talk something through. You got to get good advice from somewhere. Absolutely. Um, I did that sometimes. It makes me calm enough to concentrate. Absolutely, Sandy. Um, uh, I know for myself, if I'm actually talking something out, sometimes it doesn't always come out the way I intended. And I know that sometimes it can be frustrating because people say, well, the first thing you say is usually what you mean. Well, sometimes I literally have to hear myself talk it through and talk it out. So I'm trying to get to actually what I'm trying to say, because everything's all jumbled up in my head. And so I have to actually get to that. I have to hear myself say it in order for it to process through correctly. So it can be very, very frustrating. Now, one thing that we did learn about Christina, another sip of coffee and my brain will continue to work. It also helps the asthma too as well. Another thing that we found out with Christina was that when she crawled, when she was a baby, she actually, and I don't even know if I can, she reproduced it in hands thing, but I'll try. She actually pushed this leg out first. She actually crawled regularly, and then she would take this leg and lift it up and push herself forward. It was a very unusual crawl. And what we actually found out was she was about 5 or 6, I mean, 6 or 7, and we took her to some place. School had some person that was helping her because she was just struggling with some things. And we actually found out that she she asked her to crawl. She could not crawl. And they found out that actually properly crawling as a baby does something in the mind to help them process something. I forgot what it was. And she had to actually learn how to crawl because she could not crawl correctly. So those are kind of things to be on the lookout. Maybe if you have a child that's not crawling properly, work with them to crawl properly because it's really important that they actually crawl properly because it does excuse me, it does something in the brain and connects one side with the other correctly. And those wires were not done because she didn't crawl properly. I was in uh, special needs for language and math. I struggled with math. Still to this day cannot understand algebra, just so you know. And I think I've never found use for it. Now, my dad was very good with graphs. I think that's why I get those blankets I do so well because he did very good with having to map out graphs and be able to do charts and all that kind of stuff. He did that very well. He did that with his pest control business that he had at one point when he was working. So, you know, we have to realize, and here's another thing that I think to some degree frustrates me, is my husband was, he's an extremely intelligent individual. Um, Extremely intelligent, actually. And he went to school, and um, and he actually does very well when he can work with his hands. He does actually better when he can work with his hands. And so he would sleep through school. He would actually, sleep through school. I remember that's kind of how he got my dad's approval because I could not understand algebra as far as I could throw it, and I went for not. I didn't really wasn't going to need it. I was doing hospitality management, and I was actually working in a program, and I'm thinking I'm never ever going to need, um, you know, it's never going to be needed. You know, this algebra. And so I was doing an online class, and so I did it virtually, and I thought, hospitality management, you're just never going to use algebra in hospitality. So anyway, I went ahead and I did that, and I remember him helping me with algebra. And he said to me at one time, he said, "You're never going to get this." He said, "Just forget it. It's never going to happen." And he said, "Just give me the answers and I'll give them to you." And so we did, and I didn't finish my hospitality degree. I wanted to, but I didn't finish it. And so my dad was sitting there listening to him on the table. He was sitting there listening to him. And I give him the math problems, and he's half asleep figuring this math problem out in his head. And he actually went to my dad and he said, or my dad went to my Josh, and he said, "You know what? I didn't think you were all that smart." And he said, "I have to apologize." He said, "You're a very smart individual." Because he was watching them, no paper, no pen, give him the algebra problem, and within minutes he had it figured out in his head. So my husband actually would have done very well working in like the wood shop and hands-on kind of learning. That's the way he did it. When he went for his GED in the state of Ohio, uh, you know, He got a perfect score on his GED. And then when he tried to go into the Navy for the military, he actually got put as far as they wanted him to be a nuclear engineer on a nuclear sub. You cannot be, you have to be smart to do that. So he did not get it. He would actually sit in class and sleep. And then when he got the test, he would just go ahead and ace it. And his teachers would get so frustrated with him. And he's like, I'm listening. You're just boring me. you know, he had such an inquisitive mind that they weren't challenging him enough. And that's weird. BN says, I can do algebra, but not good at any other math, but I never use algebra. I don't know when we'll use it. My daughter actually didn't understand algebra, but she could understand geometry very easily. It was something that she actually got very, very easily, believe it or not. Don't ask me how she did it, but she was able to actually understand algebra or geometry very easily. So I think that we have to, first of all, we have to realize that every kid that comes into a school, it is very hard in today's school, if you're sitting there with 30 kids, to go through and say, this kid learns this way, this kid learns this way. You kind of have to put them all together in a lump. But I'm telling you, it can be frustrating for the kid that's really, really struggling. I had an art teacher that said that he could teach anyone to draw. He had considered after my he had conceded after my first semester. I was first one ever he could not teach to draw. I can't draw. I can crochet. I can't draw. Um, and somewhat similar to my daughter, she actually was her teacher, and he had her for summer camp for all 4 summer camps during high school. And he kept telling me, she'll be fine in college, she'll be fine in college. And I said, okay, that's fine. She can go to college if she wants to, but this mama ain't doing the work for it. And so forth. And when she got through her first semester with him, he actually, when we were sitting at the teacher conference, he said, you know what? I have to come and say that you were right. He said to me, she will be much better in some kind of vocational or training, kind of vocational school where it's hands-on than she's ever going to do sitting in a college. Not that she's necessarily college material, but she's not going to be as successful as she's going to be if she will just go to some kind of vocational school. And quite frankly, she is much better. I never thought she could be a cashier. She is. But she actually flourishes at a local barn she's working at part-time with the horses. It's her happiest time. She would love to be there full-time working, cleaning out the stalls, being with the animals. That would be her like heaven on earth, is working with those horses 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. That would be her absolute heaven on earth to be at. And so we have to be, careful if we have kids of our own to really pay attention how they're learning. I probably would have been better being homeschooled. My mother actually said that to me. She said, Mary, she said, homeschool wasn't as popular as it is now. And she said, I really wish that I had actually homeschooled you because of my asthma, I would get sick a lot. My teachers didn't understand it. Back then, it was, well, if you didn't baby her and if you weren't an only child, she's an only child. That's, excuse me, that's why she's, the way she is, right? That's why she gets sick. And one time my mother sent me to school sick. And it was not too, it was about 2 hours in, and I was calling her to come get me because I had like 100-degree fever. So I would get sick a lot. And so she said to me later, Mary, I really wish we had homeschooled you. I really wish we had done it. And I honestly wish she had to. At the time, she was working, and she worked for many years, actually over at my grandparents' house. My grandfather was a quadriplegic, so my grandmother needed help, so she would have the freedom to do it. And I really wish she had homeschooled me. I think I'd have done so much better to be homeschooled versus thrown into a classroom. And I think, and then I really wish that when I was in sixth grade, we'd had a school very similar to what Christina went through or went to after eighth grade. She went the last half of eighth grade onward till she graduated high school. Because what they did in that school is they had high functioning autistic, special needs, high functioning special needs children. They also had children with learning disabilities, and they would actually foster the classes. They only had 88, I think it was 88 or 89 availabilities for kids within the classes. And it was much more concentrated on how they learned. Like her teacher the last year, he was wonderful, Mr. Nelson. He said, I'm going to make Christina do, I think it was biology. I'm going to make her do biology, which she did not do very well, or something. It was some chemistry or something like that for the first half of the year. I want her to press through it. But she's not the greatest at this. But I want to push her. I don't want to push her beyond frustration. I want to push her and see that she can accomplish this, but not push her too far. And then he said the last half, he said, I'll transfer her over to like ocean or, sea something or other kind of study. So he was able to do that. They actually came to me at the end of ninth grade and said to me, Christina is doing very, very well with the current teacher that she has. And the other teacher, she was very sensitive to noises and people's voices. And the other teacher that had the 10th grade class actually really bothered her ears and so forth. So she said to me, would it be okay if Christina just stays with the teacher she's at? I really think moving her, she had, been through a little bit of a difficulty. And I think that was around the time when 2013 hit and we had so much stuff going on. And I said, if you think that's where she needs to be for another year, that's where we'll put her. And they really listened to her. And she said, I'd like to keep her exactly where she's at. So because of that, we kept her exactly where she was. And I wish that we had had a school very similar to that available to us for me to go to, because I think I would have flourished at a school like that versus where I was. So, and then when I went to ninth grade, and I went to a different school because the school I was at only went to eighth. Now, as soon as I left a couple years later, they opened it up for high school, but they only went up to eighth grade. And then I went to a different school, and I was really heavily bullied sixth through ninth or eighth grade at that school. And I thought, great, new beginning, new people, new thing, and I was bullied there. And at the end of ninth grade, I said to my mom, I don't care how you get me out of here. You have to get me out of here. I cannot tolerate this anymore. I am done. I was ready to just vanish in more ways than one. And I just said to her, you're getting me out of here because I'm not going back. I just refuse to. I don't care. They can come. They can take me. I don't care what they do with me. I am not going back. You have to figure something out. I said, I cannot tolerate this anymore. And I actually went through and I went through uh, and I spent 2 years getting my GED. It was the most, it was the best thing I could have done. It was very, very calming. It was what I needed. I needed that break. And I could have probably rushed through and gotten my GED sooner, but I was so damaged from all the stuff that I needed a breather. So it took a while to get it, but I did get it. And of course, they've changed it where now if you fail one part of the GED, you have to take the whole thing over again. And I didn't have to do that. I think I failed math and I had to go back and retake it again. So, you know what? I am so glad for the GED. I can tell you that I was a little sad that I missed would have been my prom, homecoming, all the fun stuff that happens in school, but I don't think I'd be here if I had finished school because I was at such a breaking point during that time. And I really think that it's taken me, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am. You're not going to get that out of me, but um, it's taken me this long in my life to sit there and realize, you know what? I'm okay with the way I need to process things. This channel has become, Mom gets all the revenue for it. I'm glad for it. This channel has become a place for me to be myself. It's a place for me to process through things and kind of have that, diary kind of effect a little bit. Um, I'm not one to sit and write a journal. Nope, that's not this girl. Um, and usually, if I'm typing something or writing something, I will actually have to sometimes give it to Mama because, hi, Crafty, even though I am, I should be able to, sit there and process it correctly, right? I don't. I just don't do it. It takes me a little bit of time to be able to do it correctly. So if I have to be able to do it, it just takes me a little bit of time to be able to um, get it. If I see, I'm struggling here for a minute. If I write something, I will actually have to take it over to my mom and let her redo it. And 9 out of 10 times, she'll say, I know that you meant this, but you wrote this. And so she'll have to correct it. So I know if I've written something, I usually have to take it to her and she proofreads it and does a 10 times better job than I can. But she says, I know what you were trying to say. I know what you were trying to get out there. But she said, it's not what is written down. So I have to be careful with that. Um, And I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? If I need to listen to a book audibly, I'm going to listen to it audibly. I'm not going to spend the next 2 hours frustrating myself to no end to read something. I'm just not going to do it. And, I try very hard on our lives to not bring political stuff, which never happens, or, you know, anything religious into it because I want everybody to feel welcome. But I will say this uh, when I'm reading my Bible, I can spend time frustrated, or I can literally have the Bible be read to me and follow along. And I do so much better with that. I don't not want to actually get into my Bible and read it. As before, it was like, I don't want to read. You want to torture me? Go ahead and make me read. That's the thing that frustrates me because it gets in my head and it just gets all jumbled up. And it's like, I think to myself, I think I'd have been so much better in school if I'd had a book where it could have been audible. I think that's why when I was in school and I would go home and study, the music had to hit. The music had to go because if I didn't do the music, at least with the music in the background, I was hearing something and I could read easier. It still was frustrating for me to read, but it wasn't frustrating for me to read. And my mother, when she would read and study, she said, I always needed it to be quiet. And I'm like, no, I got to have the music going. And I will find today, if I got to get something done, the music has to be going. And yesterday, I was actually got 3 devotions up yesterday. I was so proud of myself. Yesterday, actually, I was doing devotions while I was crocheting. I was editing them while I was crocheting. So I could listen to myself, which, by the way, just as a side note, editing yourself is really, really hard to do. I have to listen to myself. I create and relate. We so tend to be so critical of ourselves. And I'm sitting there going, I wish I'd done this differently and that differently. So editing on a whole, when you actually have to edit yourself, is really not that easy. I'm like, it's probably why I don't want to do it, because I'm like, I have to sit there and listen to myself. You guys have to listen to me, but I hope I'm not that terrible. But to myself, I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. But anyway, but I sat there yesterday editing and crocheting. And by the way, TV was on all at the same time. I got it done. So if there's any mistakes on the 31st, the 1st, or the 2nd devotion, you'll know why. Put it in the comments below if you watch it, and I'll go through. See, I thought, well, if there are any mistakes in these, then I can go into YouTube and edit them out. So I probably need to re-listen to it again and make sure that there is no mistakes, and I need to go into the YouTube now that they're uploaded and go, yeah, just snip that little piece out. But I was sitting there going, okay, I'm crocheting, I'm editing, and the TV's on all at the same time. And I can multitask really, really well for the most part. But you get me reading, I'm like, no. I was a tasker before YouTube, but oh my God, it's all the skills. And that's kind of, I kind of thought about it the other day. I'm thinking, you know, when you have a YouTube channel, we're almost at 1800. We're literally like 16 away from 1800. And I'm like, then we have the Blessings Through Connection. Hi, Ashes. How are you? Welcome on in. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we're going to get this other channel going just as a way to support um, other channels. And I did, I'm going to put it in here so you guys have it. If you're a creator, excuse me, my nose is itching. It always happens when you're playing the flute, your nose will itch. And sure enough, it always happened. We used to do like sight reading for you know competitions and stuff, and inevitably it always would happen, and you couldn't stop and and do that. Always would happen. I'm going to put the Blessings Through Connection Facebook group in the chat. I think I've sent it to Crafty. Go ahead and go in and subscribe or go in and join that group. If you have any upcoming lives, place it in that group. Okay, and we will try. I cannot promise it's always going to happen, but we will try to make sure that we put them into the Blessings Through Connection community tab 10 minutes before you go live. So if you guys are looking for channels, go to Blessings Through Connection or Blessed to Crochet. There's the channel shoutouts. But if you're looking for upcoming lives or lives that have happened or premieres that have happened, we put them out 10 minutes before um, somebody's going to go live. If you put those things in Blessings Through Connection group, we will try to go schedule them out in Blessings Through Connection 10 minutes before you go live. We go ahead and go into your live, give you a thumbs up, and let you know that we have shared it. So we may need to extend that time down the road. We may need to make it like 20 minutes before the person goes live. But right now we're going to 10 minutes. And if you go on that community tab under Blessings Through Connection, if you haven't joined that channel yet, then you can always make sure that maybe you'll catch somebody live and you can go into their live and be a part of their great community. So I will accept anybody that went in there and did it. But that's a great place. We're just trying to help people grow. We just want to make sure that we're fostering growth the correct way. Like I said before, if you go into a chat, you go into someone's YouTube channel, and just like before, video doorbell, things and knock on their door and they weren't home, they didn't know you arrived unless you told them or you, you left a note. So if you go over there and hit that button, excuse me, if you go over and hit that button, nobody knows you're there. Watch a video, watch a couple shorts, leave your virtual footprint on there someplace, and then you can go back and support when you can. It's all about that. If anybody wants to take our playlist over there for the lives we've done and let it run, we'll gladly take that. But I thought to myself the other day, I'm thinking, this channel is almost 1800. It's kind of like having a baby. Now, I'm not relating YouTube to having a baby, but I'm thinking to myself, when you get done having the baby, you think to yourself, you know what? I'm ready for the next one. All the pain and everything has gone by the wayside, and you're ready to have your next one, right? It's kind of the similar thing to YouTube. It's like, okay, did the first one. Now I'm ready to grow the second one. No, there will not be a third one. I'm done after the second. The YouTube tubes are tied after the second one. That's it. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know what? You're thinking to yourself, okay, you're really fitting for punishment. I'm not doing a third one. But I thought to myself, boy, just like that. Okay, we're ready. Let's go on to the next one. I thought about that the other day. I'm like, no, the YouTube tubes are tied. I'm not going for a third channel. I think to myself, am I crazy to want to do another one? But I think that with learning disabilities, we have to remember we have to separate them from disabilities of autism, Down syndrome, all those. You can't lock them together. But we also have to remember one is hard enough. Yeah. Well, we're doing the second one so that you guys can have another place of connecting and really helping each other grow and helping each other grow your channels and so forth. We're trying to give back on that channel. That's why we want to do it. And that's why we're there to support. And if you're interested, just so people know, I did my own interview, which was weird. And then I'm doing one with Christina, which I'm finishing up. Alfonso said he's going to do one. And anybody else that wants to come on and do about a half an hour, 45-minute interview with us under Blessings Through Connection, we will go ahead and put that together. We will release that. Then we can take clips from those interviews, put them when we do our live streams of connecting, and then we can also make yourself a whole playlist with about 5 hours of the content you want to put in there, and then we can have a playlist all to yourself with a little bit of our stuff in there, just a video of getting to know you. That way we get a little bit of watch time and you get watch time. We can ask people to play that and they'll get to know you, and people were looking forward to that. I want it to be a very authentic interview. I don't want them to be terribly long. I just want them to kind of have get to know you before they're kind of getting into your playlist and they're seeing that connection happen. That is so, so important. So, can you do interviews of stuffed animals? I possibly could. We can try. I think I'd like to have you on. You could show your stuff, Crafty, but that would be pretty cool too. But we could do it. She could show all her wonderful stuff and talk and so forth. And I'm trying to ask questions like, what are your favorite things? And, what are the things you learned? And who are you? And kind of just getting to know the person on the other side of their channel. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But I think we have to be careful when we do it, because I also think that if you have a child that is dealing with a learning disability, you got to find out how they roll. It is not necessarily the school's problem to find out how they roll. It's you as a parent that has to go and sit there and go, okay, let's figure out how this child is going to roll. And maybe you have to get some outside help if you're dealing with a child with a learning disability, so that you can make sure that the school knows, hey, You know what? This is coming from outside. This is how my child best learns. And I think that we forget, I think sometimes as parents, you know, they go off to school, they come back, and it's like, well, that's the school's problem and not necessarily my problem when it comes to learning. I know when Christina went to her school, her last school, um, I remember that she didn't have homework. If she finished all her homework, she very seldom came home with homework. And I was very grateful because by the time she came home with um, with with time she came home with, done with school, she was done. There was no, well, let's take an hour break and do any homework. She was finished. And so when we used to have homework in a normal school, it was torture trying to get her to sit down. And so they said if she got all her work done in school, she didn't have to come home with any homework. And it meant that when she came home, usually dealing with a special needs child who had autism, I'm telling you, her medicine was weird. Her focus medicine was off. She was tired. There was just nothing left for her to give. And it was such a help that we didn't have to sit there trying to make her do homework. It was such a blessing. I know the struggle well of having two children with neurodiversity conditions. Absolutely. And here's the other thing too, is we have to realize all these kids think differently. Like we say at the very end of our lives, be proud of being yourself because everyone else is taken. So if they're thinking differently, they're learning differently, we got to find out how they're going to best learn. And I remember taking Christina. She had a fourth grade teacher, and nothing against the teacher, but I was in a parent teacher conference, and there were several teachers of hers plus the principal, and they spent an hour telling me all the wrong things about my kid. And then when I would bring up something that I knew as a parent, they would sit there and roll their eyes like I didn't know what I was talking about. And the next year, Christina was actually diagnosed with autism, and we went to the Dan Marino Center, and there was a list of 12 different things, right? 12 on a sheet of paper that would sit there and tell things that the teachers could have done to make Christina's school a little bit easier. Which I got 10 of them on there that I was trying to tell them in that meeting, and nobody would listen. I was like, yeah, I tried telling them this, and I tried telling them this, and this, and this, and this. And I took that section of the report, and I actually made a copy of it. It was very nice in how I did it. I don't know how I did it. And I walked over to the teacher. By then, we had it was a school function, and she happened to be there because she had children within the school. And of course, I think we had Jordan with us at the time. And it was an evening event. And I just took that piece of paper, I had it in my purse, and I just handed it to her. And I said, I just want you to know, maybe you should know what autism looks like. Because here is at least 10 of the things I tried to tell you to do with my kid, and you looked at me like I was, I lost my mind. And I just said to her, no criticism, but I thought this list would be helpful to you, and I appreciate you trying to help Christina, and I walked away. So you got to stand up for your kid. I've done it on more than one occasion for my daughter. I did it at the private or the public school that she went to for 7th grade, and I was told by the vice principal and I didn't get along very well, and she sat there within just a couple of days of meeting me and said, I hear you have a service dog. Your daughter does. And she said, well, we have tons of ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, kids within our school, and none of them have service dogs. And I said, well, I don't care whether none or all. If it benefits my daughter, she got it. And if you have a problem with it, I'm really sorry. I mean, I was just like, I was not a mama to be messed with. And I think that we have to remember, whether we're dealing with kids with special needs or we're dealing with kids that are dealing with just learning disabilities. They're still struggling, and we have to make sure that their needs and they're stood up for. My son could not connect school and home. School was school and home was home. He couldn't do homework at all. Way too much for them. Absolutely. I got very good at changing their negative words into positive words. Nobody flourishes when you say negative comments, especially with child with special needs. Absolutely. Oh, what I should have done in that meeting instead of sitting there and taking it, and I just thought it was going to get better, is I actually probably about 10 minutes in with the meeting, or 20 minutes at least, 10 or 20 minutes, should have stood up and said, listen, if all you all are going to roll your eyes at me and do nothing but negative comments about my kid, I'm walking out. We'll reconvene when you all are ready to talk nice, because I'm not going to sit here and listen to this. And it was all stuff that could have been corrected and fixed and all related back to her autism. It all connected in with that. And instead of sitting there and you know, that was the missing link. At that time she wasn't, but they thought that I was just, she was an only kid, and she's too much of a protective parent, and all this kind of ridiculous stuff, and it had nothing to do with that. She was actually autistic. Now, she had one teacher that actually, during her SATs, during those tests that they make them do, which she never did very well on those at all, and she would tap her foot. So the floor, you would hear this tapping. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic, but so the kids are trying to focus on, on a test, and there's this. And the kids would be bothered by it, and Christina could not stop. She literally could not stop. So I don't know how the teacher did it. So the teacher stuck her foot underneath Christina's foot and let her tap so that the kids couldn't hear it. I'm sure she had a black and blue foot by the end of the thing, but she literally stuck her foot underneath there and allowed the teacher to tap. She tapped her foot so that she would muffle the sound. Now, what they could have done is given her like a pillow or something like that, and then she could have tapped it on the pillow instead of doing her teacher's foot. But yeah, stimming, exactly. But she was allowed to do that. I was called no dog at the beginning of being a parent of a child with special needs. And now, mommy, don't mess with it. Definitely changes your personality. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be, but you also have to be that way with kids that are dealing with learning disabilities. I think that some degree, learning disability kids are kind of put underneath, like they're really not struggling. And they are, they do struggle. Like I said, for me, you sit me down with a book, you might as well just about want to, I'm like, no, I don't want to read a book. I think it's not that I don't need to know how to read. I do, but it is torture for me because it all gets jumbled up in this head of mine. I'm so much more of a verbal person. And I do better if I talk verbally. Now, I've told people on this channel, if I talk and I'm realizing, wait a minute, that's not what I mean, sometimes it'll take me a little bit of time to actually get to what I mean because I'm actually literally talking it out by processing. I'm processing as I'm talking out loud. So if I realize, wait a minute, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant, but this is what is coming out. And so I have to be very careful, right? That I am making sure that I'm doing it and letting people understand. There's no shame that should come out for anybody to say, hey, I have learning disability, right? I have learning disability. I have no problem saying it. I struggle with reading. And that's why when we do our devotions, I was using these. I no longer use them when I'm doing the devotions and recording, because they make my voice tinny for some reason. I will have, if I don't have my phone on me where I can literally go to a dictionary and listen to it in my ear several times over, I don't know. I have to do it. Every once in a while, I have to do it. Sounding out the word is difficult. I have to listen to it. So if we are in a position where we're like that, I think we get to, I think for myself, I have found it where I have been almost ashamed of the fact that I struggle with that. And I have gotten to the point where I don't care. It's the way I'm wired. It's the way I'm made, and I'm going to sit there and be thankful of how I'm made and put together. And I think that we have to be careful with these types of kids, because I think they can be easily bullied. Uh, I think they can be kind of, well, if they just did this better or that better or whatever. Like I said, I know I have a reading disability, but again, I don't think I was tested right, but I would not, I've said it, I probably have dyslexia. And I probably even said that wrong, but I probably have that just because I struggle so much with reading. It's not something I find enjoyable at all. I'm very visual. That's why when we do the devotions, you'll see pictures with the titles. Why? Because I want you to, I'm thinking of that title, and I'm thinking of it in pictures. My daughter does the same thing. She thinks in pictures. So I snap back. I literally am thinking in pictures. So that's why when the daily devotions come out, there's a picture. When we talk about the daily devotions, we talk about why we pick that picture for the thumbnail. There's a reason behind why we did that picture for the thumbnail. It's not just we're picking it out of random things. Sometimes it's hard to kind of equate a picture with it, but we try, because I think some people, because I've had a child with autism, I tend to do it, I think, in pictures. Very good with colors. It's why I can do the crochet very well and pick out colors and themes and all that kind of stuff. I'm very good with looking at something and have it finished. I'm very much of a people person. If you haven't figured that out, where have you been? I very much, my mother can sit there going, I have no idea how you can sit there and talk for an hour or 2 hours or whatever. I'm very good with it. Creighton Relate says, 2 major words changed my world after I started using them. Reasonable adjustments. I don't know how many times I've used them. That's a good idea. Those are good words. A lot of kids do that. They need to tap their foot or do other mannerisms. Absolutely. Processing as we go. Do it all the time. I have conversations. Hi, Vima. We have conversations with ourselves all the time. Sandy, if you want to drop some of the people in the chat that have been here chit-chatting, Create and Relate, Snap Back, that would be great if you want to drop their links so that we can connect with you all. I am doing good today. Welcome on in, Vima. Welcome on in. And sometimes, even when people come in with their names on the chat, I struggle with them. I struggle with the names. I can't always pronounce them, as they say, because it's not processing up here. And that was one thing that I was kind of nervous about doing live streams, because I thought, I'm going to mess somebody's name up. And I've kind of said, you know what? I do the best I can. Sometimes I see their name, but I don't quite know how to pronounce it in my head. And even if they do it and put it in a way of being able to pronounce it, language-wise, phonetically, or whatever it is, I cannot get it to sink in here. It just can't. And Crafty, if you want to drop anybody's links too that has been chit chatting, go right ahead. I just can't do it. But I don't think that needs to stop anybody. That's the thing. We don't need to stop ourselves, because I'm so glad I didn't let that stop me. Well, you know what? I don't want to go live because I don't know. Maybe I'll mispronounce somebody's name. Let them know I struggle with this. It makes you human, right? It just brings you down to earth. You're just like everybody else that struggles with everything. And so I think that we have to, as we get older and past the kids' years, if we have a learning disability, especially if we have a YouTube channel, let people know, hey, I struggle with this. So I struggle with reading. I struggle with pronouncing things correctly. I struggle with math. And you know what? People will understand if you're going to be authentic, and if you're going to be there for them and be supportive. That's all that matters. Oh, my dear, pronunciation is the worst. That is the reason I don't go live very more often. And I enjoy going live with you guys. I really, honestly, have really been enjoying. I don't know if you have. We're doing it tonight at 7. I really enjoy taking my crochet outside and just letting the conversation take its course. And I interact with that, but I also do, I let the chat within themselves too, because I want you guys to connect. But I really enjoy that. I enjoy going outside. I have to do it after 7 because it's too hot. Hopefully it doesn't rain. I scheduled it for tonight going, okay, I hope it does not rain. I will not do it in the mix of 20-degree weather in Ohio and it's snow, because if it does, we're going to sit in my room. But I do enjoy that, because it's just one thing that I don't have to think about a topic. I don't have to come up with a topic. I don't have to do anything. I just can connect. And that's the point of it. That's why, as crazy as it seems, why we're doing the other channel, because we want to give back. We want to connect and let people connect within the chat. And so that's why we are looking to do that. And we have opened that group, the Blessings Through Connection group. We have opened that so that people that have pages can come in and do it as well. I know not everybody would like to give their, hi Share Bear, not everybody wants to give their name on Facebook. So we have opened it up to anybody that just wants to come in as a page. Because if you guys post your lives coming up or premieres, we will try. I cannot promise it will always happen. We will try to put it over on the community post on Blessings Through Connection. I just want to have a little beef with YouTube for a second. I don't know why when you have YouTube and you go share somebody's live or premiere and you hit the share button, you can't schedule that live. It just goes right on the community post. But if you do it under your phone, you can schedule it. I'd like to know what the difference is. And I'd like for YouTube, if YouTube is listening, to please make that feature so that when you're on the computer and you hit the share button, you can actually schedule it to happen at a certain time. Just so you know. I have tried, and I have to go actually in our phone to do it, because I think it looks better that if we can actually share their live with their thumbnail, and then when you go into the community post under Blessings Through Connection, and you go into the community post, then you can actually, it actually shows that they're live, and it'll show it, and it's so much better for it to actually come up that way versus us just putting the link of it up, or the link of it up, or, you know, just a picture of it up. It actually shows that they're live on it. I just thought I would mention the fact that I don't understand why YouTube doesn't do that. I'll have my beef with YouTube for a minute. And just, if you are a creator, just pay attention to some new things that are coming out that YouTube are just making. If you do any AI, Snapback was talking about that the other day. If you're doing AI, or if you're 16 and under, just pay attention. They're coming out with new requirements. Also, faceless YouTube channels. So they want people, at least to do something where you're showing your face, I guess, from what I understand. Just when you're in it, just make sure you're keeping up with new things that they decide that they're going to roll out, decide to change and spring on us when we don't expect it, right? It's kind of why we're doing the we're putting the clips in with the streams over at Blessings Through Connection, so you can have a face attached with it. But anyway. But what they're talking about, Crafty, is kind of like what we're doing over at Blessings Through Connection, I think. Because you understand, YouTube can be very vague. But I think what they're saying is, if we did that without us doing those recordings throughout, where there's actually a face, and we're going to be adding more recordings, and we'll be able to take the interviews we're doing and make little clips to put out throughout the thing. I think that if we did that stream just as is, with the background and the music and no face, I think that's what they're talking about. I think. Don't quote me on it. I think that's what they're talking about. I'm live.
I know, I'm sorry, but I can't wait.
Well, I can't.
I'm fine.
Josh walked by. And I forgot I know how to turn my... But you're live. That's the thing. You're live. Even though you're not showing your face, you're live. It's an actual running live video. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think it's more like what we're doing over at Blessings Through Connection. But the fact that that if we didn't have those videos, then it would be considered a faceless live. You know what I mean? Where you're just looping a video like we're doing with the, the music, and that's it. That's why we're putting those videos up, I think. I don't know. Go just when you're at, I think it's coming out like July 15th is when they're rolling stuff out. I heard like they're making that anybody under 16 or under has to have a parent or a guardian or someone with them while they do a live stream, which I really don't think is a bad idea, because, there's a lot of people that aren't very, us adults know how to handle people that come in that aren't very nice, but sometimes you got some people coming in and the kids really need to make sure that they're safe. And if they can upload videos, but if they're under 16 and under, they need to really have a parent with them while they're doing their lives and making sure that people are behaving themselves, because there's a lot of danger out there when it comes on the social media. We have to be very careful when it comes to that. Very careful. It's like when Christina was growing up and we gave her social media. I said, I know all your passwords. And the minute you change them passwords, or the minute you do an account that I find that I don't have a password to, you lose the privilege of being on. And she knew that, and she never broke that. And I would go in and check and make sure. I go into messengers and make sure that she was behaving. And every once in a while, I had to step in. And one time I had to step in, and they had to know, keep going. And we're going to have some more issues, and we'll have problems. And it stopped very quickly. But if I hadn't stepped in, then it wouldn't have. So because I was dealing with a special needs child, I had to be a little bit more on the ball because she was, and I think sometimes children can be naive, but she was a little bit more naive, and I had to be very much involved. So I'd be going to check her messages and make sure that they were all clean and everybody was behaving themselves and there wasn't a problem. There was an 8-year-old on a live. It's just terrible. I'm sorry. That's just, I know I need to. I just, I was the same. I had to be tough with social media. Luckily, caught someone trying to groom my daughter. Absolutely. We have to be very careful. And, if, listen, here's my view on, well, we brought this up and then we'll end very soon. Here's my view and why we really refrain from cursing on this channel. First of all, people need to understand I'm a lot better with it now than I was a while back ago. Even 10, 20 years ago. My first marriage, when the curse words went flying, that meant there was trouble coming. And so because of the abuse that I went through, curse words for me were flashbacks. And I could not tolerate them. I just couldn't for a long time. Now, if I go into somebody's chat that's on YouTube and they're the host and they are cussing, it depends on my day. There's some days I'll take it and there's some days that I just can't. And so it's their house, it's their home, it's their channel. They can do whatever they want to do. Here, we don't do that. Here, we don't allow that. As a Christian, feel whatever you want to feel, believe whatever you want to believe. I don't believe that's honoring to God, but believe whatever you want to believe. So because of those reasons, and because I have a little bit of sympathy when it comes to maybe someone that is watching our channel may have gone through exactly the same thing I did. Maybe they were being physically or verbally, trigger warning, abused. Well, there were curse words flying, right? And so because of that, right, I feel as if it's not something that I want to foster. And so we have some words blocked that just won't ever appear. And if somebody comes in and starts doing that, the comment's going to get removed and they're going to be in timeout. I just do not want to see anybody else going through that. And possibly having, maybe they've gone through, a situation where they have had that, and maybe something that, maybe the cuss words will bring a flashback. And I know for me, sometimes it does, and I can't tolerate it. And I just have to say, listen, I want to support that creator. I just can't be that in there anymore. It's too hard for me. So I just let them know I have to go. I just do it very respectfully. Again, it's their house. It's the way they want to run their channel, and go for it. You do what you're going through. It builds verbal by not cussing. My children don't swear because I don't, and their circle don't. They are not actually, because they can use other words. Yes. And here's the thing, and I will say this. This was very hard. Christina, thank you, Vima. And if you come in there, you can do more connections. We have people come in those live streams. They're made a mod, and then they can make the connections correctly and properly, and you can build. We do channel shout outs over there. I did put the Facebook group. If anybody else wants me to drop the Blessings Through Connection Facebook group, if you go in there and you drop your lives, we will try to put them 10 minutes prior to your live happening in the Blessings Through Connection community tab. So If you also go on that page, in our link tree is the Facebook group for that as well. So you can do that too as well. When Christina was dealing with her autism, there was a brief period of time, there was many years there where we didn't know she was autistic until she was about 11 years old. She was misdiagnosed. So a lot of her meltdowns were autistic meltdowns. We didn't realize that was happening. And a lot of them were absolutely verbal or physical meltdowns. And so when we had people coming in, once we got the diagnosis, and people and behavioral therapists coming in the house, there was a point in Christina's life where she would cuss, and the behavioral therapist had to say to us, "You cannot stop it. We don't care what words come out of her mouth right now. Let them come out, because we're trying to get her from." Well, have fun, Crafty. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. We're about ready to get off in a few minutes. You have to let her do this. Whatever comes out of the mouth, come out. Because we've got to get her from physically hitting to verbally communicating. Because when she would go into an autistic meltdown, her computer crashed, there was no verbal stuff coming out, or verbal things. She would just go to physical. So we had to go through a brief period of time where anything that came out of her mouth, cuss words and all, we didn't care when she was having an autistic moment. For me, that was very hard to do. And they'd say to us, "We'll deal with that in a little bit. We've got to get her to the point where she's literally, verbally just letting it go," right? And still today, she struggles with that, because it's almost like when her computer crashes, everything goes right out the window. She's not physical anymore. Everything goes right out the window, and it's just verbal, stuff that comes out. And it's just, she cannot necessarily always control it. So, hi, Soblee. So realize that if you're dealing with a special needs child, and we were in that position with Christina, where she was just trying to to get the verbal stuff out. That's all she was trying to do. We had to allow her to say whatever, except for any kind of things that were, not okay. I mean, there were some things that weren't, but cuss words flew, whatever flew, literally we just let her go. If she was angry, whatever it was, because we were trying to get her from physically being able to communicate when she had a computer crash, to being able to verbally get things out. And so it was very difficult. It was very hard. And my biggest thing for anybody dealing with anybody with a learning disability or a special needs child, the earlier you can get them diagnosed, the better. Because a lot of things with my daughter that we would have been aware of would have not happened if she had been properly diagnosed. She was not properly diagnosed until she was 11. So a lot of the things would have never happened if she had been diagnosed at 5 years old. I had a whiteboard where I wrote things that needed sorting when calm. They knew it was there and needed to address, but it wasn't important at the time. Emotions always have their priority. Absolutely. But again, create and relate. The problem is we did not have an accurate diagnosis at 4 or 5. I think if we had that, we thought, Christina was diagnosed with onset bipolar disorder at 5 years old. So a lot of what was happening were autistic meltdowns that we thought were actually defiant issues, and they weren't. And that was the problem that we were dealing with. And so if we had been knowing the diagnosis properly, we thought we were dealing with a defiant kid. And actually, if we just switched her food and gave her a bath first, we'd go into a 3-hour meltdown over something. Well, this is just a child that doesn't want to do what we're asking her to do. No, it wasn't. Her routine had changed. So, yes, my son was diagnosed at 7 and my daughter at... Hold on a second minute, guys. Josh is walking back through. Okay. So if, if the whole thing, I think the earlier diagnosis, the better. Like I've said to my daughter when she's ready to have children, I said, you got to be on the lookout. You may have a child on the spectrum. Don't wait. Don't wait. Changes are main causes. Absolutely they are. And so, the reason why on this channel, and everybody can do what they want to do, but something that I have said to content creators, I've told them that. I've said to them, listen, I want to be here to support, but because of my past, I can't stay for anymore. And I've let them know why. Because I think that it's important for them to understand, wait a minute. If I'm sitting here using these kind of words, there may be a section of people that may have gone through a situation where either they have been through a marriage or maybe a childhood where these words were flying. And you know what? It could bring a flashback back to them if they were being exposed to it. And I've just let them know, okay, I tolerate when I can, but when I can't, I don't put myself in a position to have flashbacks. I don't like them. They're not fun. So I let them know the reason why. And I think that it's good for them to be aware. They may not even be aware. Wait a minute. I may be causing somebody some difficulty that I'm not even aware of. And so for you guys, it's good for you to understand there's nothing there's nothing like that on this. And my mods know, if there's a cuss word that comes in the chat, you're to remove it. They're to go into timeout for a minute. And if they continue to do it, they can be warned. And if they continue, they're out of here. Because I just don't want to put anybody else through that may have gone through a situation where they had been abused either as a child or an adult and had those words, and maybe those words are flashbacks for them. So it's important to realize that. It's important to know that and be aware of that when you are doing things, because you just never know. Nope, not fun at all. My flashback generally comes from smells. Mine do too at sometimes. But that's a biggie. That's something I've gotten a lot better with. Not that I like them. I'm going to sit there and say I don't. I don't like when people do that, but I also know that I'm in charge. We're in charge of this YouTube channel, nobody else's. And if that's how they want to run their YouTube channel, that's fine. And sometimes it's realizing, they're a pretty amazing person. They just choose to use that, and that's their choice. And I'm not here to criticize it. I want to be there to support them. So I think that it's just a fine line to do, and I think it's literally a choice to choice. It needs to be a channel to channel decision. And it needs to be your decision on how you run your YouTube channel. A lot of people think flashbacks are the same, remembering something bad. Totally different. Absolutely. They're not. My sister was mistakenly defiant too. She was autistic. Better teacher education was needed. Absolutely. I remember being in a line actually at, what was it? It was like a place, and I was standing in line. I could not move. And there was a woman behind me with her 2-year-old grandson. And every other word coming out of her mouth was like, and I'm like sitting there going, If I'd had a child with me, like a grandchild or my niece, I'd have stepped out of line and gone towards the back just to make sure that my child, my niece or child or grandchild didn't hear that. And I'm thinking, your grandson is 2 years old. Why are you exposing them to those? I couldn't get the concept of it. Couldn't, still don't. And we were actually at the fireworks, and there was a couple young people behind me, and they were using words. And there was a woman and her son on a blanket. And they actually got up and moved down the ways so that she didn't have to have them a part of it. So I think it's just up to I think it's up to in each individual. But I think it's important for us as parents too to let our kids know. See, the thing is that there's so many influencers. I was there too to some degree as a kid. I wasn't allowed. My dad, when I would use those words, boy, oh boy, you better say them and run and not come back for like a week. He hated that. And probably because, when he was growing up, boy, they were flying, I'm sure, in his life. He had a very difficult upbringing. But I remember I got away with it once. And I was on the phone with them, actually having Christina. And I said one of the words, and I go, this hurts. And he never said one word to me ever about me saying that. And I remember my ex-husband, who used to just sit there those words were pretty common out of his mouth. He'd just go, Mary, because I would never really say them, even though I would occasionally, because once I got on my own, I thought, man, they're cool and I can just use them I can use them whenever I want. But the nurses just looked at him and said, sir, we've heard a lot worse come out of somebody. So, I just thought it was cool, but they're so influenced with it. And I think they think the young people is like, if they don't use them, they're not cool. And that's not the case. I think, hi, the source. I think we got to sit with our kids and kind of go through what these words actually mean. And I did that with my daughter. I told her, I said, this is what these words mean. You have to understand what these words mean. You have to understand when you use this word, what it's kind of relating to, so that they understand it's not just more than just a word floating around. It really has a meaning behind it. And I did that with my daughter. Absolutely. And if you guys aren't connected with the source, you have to get connected with the source. And a great way to make sure that you are connected with him. So we will be back tonight. We're going to rock outside. Hopefully it will not rain. Do you have an upcoming live on the source? Let's see. Yes. He has an upcoming live, your 5-question live, the source. I went ahead and scheduled that on our community post 10 minutes prior to it actually happening. And I will also do the one for the live coming up on the 13th, the support wheel. I can't always promise that I'm going to be there for every live that's over. I started to do it and I started to schedule it to say, we'll see you over there. And I thought, I love y'all, but I'm not getting up at 7:15. I slept till 10. I went to bed at like 2 and I crashed. I was just exhausted. And I'm like, there's people that I put on the community tab for lives that were happening like at 7:15. And I'm like, no, I love y'all, but I'm not getting up at 7:50. I struggled enough to get up at 10. No, it's not happening at 7:15 in the morning. So I thought I got to get rid of see you over there, because I'm like, nope, I can't say that because I'm not going over there at 7:15 in the morning. But at least it's over there. So again, go over to the community tab. If we need to start, and this is something I'm going to need you guys to give me the input. If you feel like you need those lives to be spread out 20 minutes before they start instead of 10, we can adjust them. I am doing it just 10 minutes prior to the live starting over there. But if you guys feel like, you know what, we need 20 minutes of notice before or half an hour of notice before, we're going to kind of play with the time. But right now, I'm just doing it at 10 minutes before. So those will appear, like his next live is coming up. The source is coming up, I think, on Sunday. And he does it at 6 p.m. Don't quote me on it. I should check right before I just quote. He does it at 4 p.m. on Sunday, on the 13th. So I'm going to schedule it for it to appear on Blessings Through Connection at 3:50 p.m. And you guys can go over there and see that they're live. And then even if they're done live, you can see, wait a minute, I missed this live. Let me go and check it out. Or a new channel I haven't checked out. Let me go and check this channel out. So we're trying then, yes. But I will say, this was my frustration, the source. And then what we are doing too is we're going into the live. He probably saw it on the one I scheduled that you have the 5 questions for Saturday. I go into the live, we give a thumbs up under Blessings Through Connection, and we put in the comments, we've scheduled your live and given you a thumbs up. The thing is that if we do it on the computer, which would be so much easier at times, if you want to create a post for sharing a live, it just shares it right away. If you do it on your phone, it will share it and allow you to schedule it. And then when they're looking at the live, I don't know if there's any lives I've scheduled over there. Let's just go over. Let's play with this. I'm into, let's see, view channel, post. Okay. Perfect example. Okay. So you can see that we scheduled ourselves, if you can see it. You can see that we scheduled this post, right, under Blessings Through Connection to start 10 minutes before we were going to go live. So that was at 11:35. And if you go over to Blessings Through Connection community post, you can see we're live right now. And you can see that it's there. So if you go through, you can see, wait a minute, it's live. And actually it just put me over there eventually. And if you can see, let's go. I'll find one for the source. Because I did one for the source. Let's see. I just have to find it. Okay. So you can see that we've scheduled one for the source right there. Okay, to come out 10 minutes. Have a great day. 10 minutes prior to his live starting on Saturday. So it's going to come out. It's not live yet. It's not going to be there, but it's scheduled to come out. So you see the difference where you can see mine underneath the community post shows it's live. But like Foodie's channel that came on, or like, who was it? Foodie's channel that came on yesterday, the thumbnail is there, but now it's going to show you that what the live's all about. So it's going into the live. The live is done, but if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. So that's one benefit. And if you do it from the computer, you can't, it shares it automatically instead of letting it schedule it. So if we need to adjust the time of those lives being scheduled out to 20 or 30 minutes, we will. But right now we're keeping them at 10. But still, there's lives and stuff you guys can go. And then, of course, if you go into, like, if, let's see if I go back here. If you go into, let's see, scheduled lives. Hold on a minute. Like DFAM is coming up. They're another one we found. You can see we've put a little comment to let them know, hey, gave you a thumbs up. Hi, Jeanette. Gave you a thumbs up. And we've scheduled it so people know. So we're trying to do all that. And then, of course, we have our shout outs. So here's like on the 24th, Snapback's going to have a shout out on that channel. And the same one appears on Blessings Through Connection. And then, of course, we have our you're picking up hats today. Awesome. The veterans, that's awesome. I'm finishing this blanket. Tonight at 7, I'm going to work on it. Of course, it's becoming very big. So we're going to have the tangle of the blanket again. And then as soon as I get done and know exactly how much yarn I'm going to need for the pillow, then I'm going to send some remaining yarn over to Jeanette for her to work on them in honor of the person that I'm doing the blanket for, his daughter. This blanket's getting a little unruly. It needs to get with it. Can you repeat that? Because I have lab coming up 4 o'clock schedule. How do I post it on the community page to schedule it? Well, you have to do it by phone. At least this is all I know how to do it. If you want to just take, I can do it this way. Okay. I'm in this one. So let's go over to the source. So you go over to the channel. I've only found this way of doing it by phone. When I try to do it via computer, it wants to share it automatically, but I don't want to share, I want to share his upcoming live on like 10 minutes before it's actually going to happen. So on his live, that's the next live he has, the one with the wheel. Okay. Over to the side, you'll see 3 little dots over to the side. Okay. So you're going to hit, let me see if I can do it. You're going to hit those 3 little dots. They're right over here. And I'm doing everything backwards. So they're over here. So you're going to hit those 3 little buttons and you'll see the share button come up. Okay. And yes, my phone cracked. So you'll hit the share button. Okay. Now it says which way you want to do it. So then you're going to hit create a post. I know you can see it's for the very bottom. And it will create it with the thumbnail in it. I've only found that way to do it through your phone, not through hitting it on the computer. So we can put in, like I'm going to put join and then I'll finish my rest of my stuff later. The more detail I want to put. And I'll also go into the actual live and let him know I did with that little message, which by the way, I have under my notes that message already typed up. So all I have to do is copy and go into it. I don't have to redo it again. Okay. Then you see on the top snapback where it says public, there's another 3 little dots beside that. So you're going to hit those 3 little dots on the side and you're going to see those features come up. You see the schedule button? Now this is on an iPhone. You're going to hit that and then you'll see this come up. Okay. So we're going to hit the 13th because that's when it's going to come up. And then it's going to tell you the time. It's going to move you to the time again. So we're going to do this at 3 and we're going to set it 3:50 p.m. Okay. And we're going to press OK. Once it's scheduled, you see the toggle is moved over here. So it shows we're going to hit done. And then it says scheduled. Now I'm going to finish that when I get off of here. But that's how you do a scheduled post. But for some reason, if you do it on the computer, it only sends over the actual, it shares it, but all it has is the link. It doesn't show the thumbnail, and it doesn't show it live, and you can't schedule it. And I don't think it's as effective as if you actually schedule it by showing the thumbnail and having it run like it's running right now. I think that this is so much more effective for people looking at the community post to be able to see this versus just seeing a join so-and-so's live and there's the link. I think that's just so much more effective. So, and what we do is in my notes, if my phone will work, eventually I'm going to have to get a new phone. In notes, I have that pre-recorded or pre-written out, and I'm actually going to do that with what I have for everybody's thing. I literally have it put there, so all I do is take it, copy it, go into the person's live, give them a thumbs up after I've scheduled it on the post, and put it in their comment, give them a thumbs up, and I don't have to redo it. Guys, I'm going to tell you a little secret. As YouTube content creator, those weekly shout-outs, recaps, the Bible verses, the thumbnails for the Bible verses, the daily shout-outs, and even the quotes, and even the jokes. Even though with the jokes and the quotes, I still have to go in and do a little bit more on each one. Those are, for the most part, those took me a while. Like it took 2 days to sit there with the recaps for the shout outs and get them all done for both channels. But now that they're done, they take minutes. When I'm doing the shout outs, the daily shout outs, I take those and I put them in the weekly shout outs. And so, and Mom can help with that. So I make it really easy. The best thing I can tell you to do is get into Canva. And if anybody needs help with Canva, just reach out. I'll be glad to help you through it. Have fun in there. I have found it a great way, along with my crochet, and my creativity goes wild in there. And I can focus on stuff and forget the pain. Try to make things as easy to replicate as you possibly can. If you don't make it easy to replicate it, like if I had to sit and do those recap shout outs weekly, and I had to sit for hours trying to put them together, they would never happen. I had to make it where, yes, the front work took a while for both channels to get it the way we wanted to have it, but the repeat of it happens very quickly, because all there is literally we take the person's shout out and we drop it into a frame on in the weekly one. It is so easy for me to do. It's so easy for Mom to do. So when you're doing stuff, any kind of content that you're planning to repeat, we repeat the Bible verses, we repeat the thumbnails for the devotions, we repeat the shout outs, we repeat, all that's repeated. Do it once, make it replicable, or repeatable, whatever it is, repeatable, replicable, whatever, repeatable, and then make sure that you can just change it up and do it again. Now the shout outs won't change, and the recaps won't change, and the song for the recaps are not changing. Those are our theme songs. Those are staying exactly how they are, but they're repeatable very quickly, very easily. I go into Canva and I say make a copy, and I go and it makes another copy. It's easy for Mom to do. It took a while to build the framework for it, but now it's, if you try to do something and it cannot be done and quickly, I'm getting off here in a few minutes, it can be quickly repeated, you're not going to continue it. Biggest thing I can tell. And if anybody wants us, I don't know, I've tried, I have to go through and figure out how to do it. But if I can figure out how to share the screen and anybody wants us to go through Canva and give a little bit of a tutorial of what we learned, I will be glad to do it if I can figure out how to do it. Or if anybody wants us on their channel and can share a screen and have us run through things that we have learned on Canva, we will be glad to do that. I'm not, anybody of knowledge, but I do have some knowledge when it comes to Canva, and I will be glad to walk through and show people how to do it. I should probably reach out to the source and see if that's something he would like for me to come and come on and walk through. But I've learned enough about Canva that I will be more than glad to sit there and run through anything with anybody. I just have to figure out how to share a screen on this on Streamlabs easily. I tried and it didn't come out right. There has to be a way to do it. There has to be. If not, I probably can reach out to Kevin with Tuber Chat. But let's take a moment. The topic was learning disabilities, but we have just gone all over the map. Which, by the way, somebody that does something audibly and process things audibly, just to tell you, this is bound to happen because they're just all over. They've got all these wonderful ideas stuck in their head and it all comes out. But thank you so much for being here. Join us at 7 o'clock tonight for some rocking and crocheting and chatting. And then tomorrow on Blessings Through Connection. I know I have it set up for 7:30, but I'm changing it to noon because I have got to sit with Christina and finish that interview tomorrow night. So we're supposed to do it tonight, but I'm going to do it tomorrow night. Hopefully with her. And so I need to, if I do that at 7:30 tomorrow, I will not be able to finish that interview. So I want to finish that interview with her and get that one up. And then I've got to figure out how to sit with Alfonso too. And all of the interviews for Blessings Through Connection will all come through StreamYard. And then I'll modificate it. I'll download it and put it. You'll never know it's StreamYard. But it'll just make it easier when we're trying to do those pre-recorded interviews. And I've got enough that I can make the time work. So we're going to take a moment. Remember, come on, stop. I have to remember to click the silent button on that one. Remember, we just want to take a moment, thank our channel members, our new channel members that were gifted memberships today. It's never expected. It is appreciated. Remember, we know not everybody can be a member. We understand that, but it does help support the channel. And so if you're able to, that's wonderful. And then on the other half, it reminds you we're just thankful. Thank you very much. And of course, we get to see Elvis. Thank you very much for stopping on by and being so supportive today. And then remember, reminds you to be an awesome disco ball that you are, and gives us an opportunity to dance. So it's kind of full circle, right? And everybody's kind of thanked and move forward and so forth. So just because, you're not a channel member, don't feel like you're not special. You're just as special. We just do appreciate this extra support we do get from our channel members. They do help the channel and continue the growth. So let's take a moment and dance. If I can get it working.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Alfonso. Oops, wait. Sorry. Gotta get back to main screen. Let me silence that so it doesn't happen again. You know what? I think I'm going to have to find some disco ball sunglasses. So when we're playing that theme, I'm not a flamingo person. These are my mother's. It was something with, it's just a funny story behind these. But I think I need to find some disco ball sunglasses. So when we got that theme song going for the channel members, right? I could put on the disco ball sunglasses. I'll have to look for them. I don't know if there is such a thing, but I thought of that. So I'm going to go get some things done. gonna do some more editing of videos, and I've got videos to edit, but I need to also I just need to find some disco ball sunglasses to put on while that's happening. And so I need to rest my voice and have something to eat and do all those things that need to get done. And then Joey meet tonight at 7 o'clock, and I will change the live Under Blessings Through Connection for tomorrow at noon. So we're just going to jump around with times. I know Tuber Chat does the same thing. I don't think we're going to stick to a Pacific time because we want to catch different people at different times to come in and make those connections happen. So remember to be proud of being yourself. Everyone else is taken. Keep crocheting that connection. No crochet hook is required. And we have you covered. Thank you so much for having us covered. And we'll see you tonight at 7 for a Ruckin', Connecting, and Crocheting. And you do not need to bring a crochet hook. You just need to want to come and connect. But if you want to bring a project with you and do it while we're chatting, that's fine too as well. So we thank everybody for showing on up and participating. And we will see you tonight. Have a great day or night wherever you're seeing this. And bye-bye for now. Until next time.
So proud of me.